Okay, so I want to start with I have a minors in women's studies. And the way I came about that was really strange. In high school, I took a African American history class. Even though I went to a PWI, they were trying to be very inclusive and teach the Black children about their heritage. So Black children had the first, we were the ones who could be in the class first. If there was any extra space, then other people could be in the class too. But they wanted us to know our history. The town I went to school with was pretty progressive for the time. So I go to college and I take African American history classes as just the classes you could take outside of your general education classes. I just took them as electives. And then one of my classes didn't work. Like, I didn't get the credit for it. And they were like, wow, if you take 2 or 3 more classes, you have the women's studies minor, because classes from the African American history department crossed over into the women's studies department. I was like, okay, fine. So I took a couple of those classes and they did not go well because me and Yusef was the only Black people in the class, and they thought we shared the same brain. And then one time, a lesbian of the class said, I feel the minorities and the lesbian are not being heard. Yusef wasn't there that day. And I had to raise my hand and say, look, I can speak for myself. I'm being heard because I'm talking and I hear myself and you guys are listening. So I don't need you to speak for me. Then we got in a big debate because, in the feminist movement, I guess the women's studies movement, it was all about the women uniting. And I was like, well, I really can't unite with you like that because my Black man is just as low as me, if not lower in some instances. And let's not forget that white women have left us behind in this movement several times when it benefited them. So I don't know if I could just jump on board with that. And then me and the teacher got into a debate because, looking at the syllabus, I was like, why are you giving me books of white women complaining? Like, there was this book and this white woman, she was rich and she was upset because her husband wouldn't let her go to college and study art history. And I said, well, I can't relate to this woman because my grandmother was probably working in her kitchen. She's not saying I want to go to college to support my family. She was saying I wanted to go to college to learn art history. I said, this is not the reality of Black people. She has a nanny, she has a cook, she has all these stuff. She's not working to support her family. Black women have always, most of the time, worked to support their family. I said, where are the texts about Black women? Oh, well, there's not much out there. I said, no, you didn't do your research. So it was kind of an argumentative class, but she thought, oh, you bring the conversation. So she loved me in the class. I didn't really care for the class.